What is the emergency?
Yes, sir. I need an ambulance as soon as possible, sir.
Okay, sir. What's your address?
It's 100 North Carrollwood Drive, Los Angeles, California, 90077.
You said Carrollwood?
Carrollwood Drive, yes.
Okay, sir. What's the phone number you're calling from? Okay, sir. And what's the problem? Exactly what happened?
Sir, we have a gentleman here that needs help, and he's not breathing yet. He's not breathing, and we're trying to pump him, but he's not. He's not breathing, sir.
Okay. How old is he?
He's 50 years old, sir.
50. Okay. He's unconscious. He's not breathing.
Yes, he's not breathing, sir.
Okay, and he's not conscious either. He's not breathing.
He's not conscious, sir.
Okay. All right. Do you have him? Is he on the floor? Where's he at right now?
He's on the bed, sir. He's on the bed.
Okay, let's get him on the floor.
Okay.
Okay, let's get him down to the floor. I'm gonna help you with CPR right now. Okay.
We need him. We need a.
Yes, we're already on our way there. We're on our way. I'm gonna do as much as I can to help you over the phone. We're already on our way. Did anybody see him?
Yes, we have a personal doctor here with him, sir.
Oh, you have a doctor there?
Yes, but he's not responding to anything. So no, he's not responding to CPR or anything, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, we're on our way there. If your guys are doing CPR and you're instructed by a doctor, he has a higher authority than me, and he's there on scene.
Okay.
Did anybody witness what happened?
No, just the doctor, sir. The doctor's been the only one here.
Okay, so the doctor see what happened?
Doctor, did you see what happened, sir? Sir, you just, if you can please.
We're on our way. We're on our way. I'm just passing these questions on to my paramedics while they're on the way there, sir.
Thank you, sir. He's pumping his chest, but he's not responding to anything, sir. Please.
Okay. We're on our way. We're less than a mile away. We'll be there shortly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Call us back if you need any help. Thank you.
I got your wig, ho, ha ha. You're mad, Miss Wikiana, Miss Wig, Miss Wikiana, Miss Wig, Miss Wig, Miss Wig.
It's been 2 years since Michael Jackson died, and as his doctor, Conrad Murray, heads into court to face manslaughter charges, the controversy surrounding his death still rages on.
This is hard. My brother, the legendary king of pop, Michael Jackson, passed away on Thursday, June 25th, 2009 at 2:26 p.m.
It was an announcement that shocked the world. Michael Jackson dead at 50 years old.
I couldn't believe that I was announcing my brother's death for the world. I was numb, very numb, because it was like a nightmare.
My sister Janet calls me and she says, she asked me, was I driving? And I said, no. I said, I'm not. I said, I'm getting ready to get on the freeway soon though. She said, no, pull over. Don't get on the freeway. And right then I knew something was terribly wrong. I said, Janet, is he dead? And she said, he's gone. And I just melted right there, and I didn't know what to do. I pulled over in this parking lot and just cried for like 15 minutes.
A judge refused to delay the trial of Dr. Conrad Murray. It's going to be taking place September 8th. It'll begin. Yes. Okay. He's being charged with involuntary manslaughter for administering these large doses of propofol, which caused Michael to overdose. The defense is saying that Michael was a desperate man. That's their position, the defense, for Conrad Murray.
Listen to the voice of Michael Jackson on May 10th, 2009.
When people leave the show, when people leave my show, I want to say, I've never seen nothing like this in my life. Go. I've never seen nothing like this. Go. It's amazing. He's the greatest entertainer in the world. I'm taking that money. I'm building children's hospital, the biggest in the world. Michael Jackson Children's Hospital.
That is what Conrad Murray is seeing and observing on May 10th, 2009.
That he gave himself the drug in order to help him sleep, that he gave it to himself, that Dr. Murray did not give it to him. And what do you think about the defense's case?
Okay, first of all, that's not true. And I've spoken to several different doctors. You cannot inject yourself with propofol like that alone. The minute you put it in, it goes into your system, you fall asleep immediately. Immediately, and doctors will tell you, and then you wake up after that. So somebody had to be standing there administering this to him.
You mean the minute it goes in, you fall asleep, and then you wake up immediately afterwards?
No, not immediately.
Oh.
Within 9 minutes or so, unless they're continuously doing it, or something of that nature.
So,
Yes.
so he would not
It's
be able
impossible.
to overdose then?
He would not be able to overdose had he done this himself.
It was a concern. That's why I came forward to say, you know, what he'd asked me for was Depavan. And my concern, you know, and that he did not receive it, that wasn't my concern, but I was hoping no one had given it to him. And now that we know it's official, and that was, you know, I find that my worst nightmare was true. He suffered from chronic severe insomnia. Yeah. And then when he asked me for the Depavan, I told him, this is not a medication for sleep. You know, it's not used for sleep. I went through in detail with him, including with the physician desk reference, the PDR, of all the side effects with it. And Michael was trying to reassure me that he would be okay as long as someone was to monitor him. And could I find him a physician? Could I find him a anesthesiologist? And this was his words. And I told him, I don't know anybody. I don't know anyone that would come and do this at your home. I don't know anyone. And don't do this. So we didn't discuss anything other than the Depavan in April. And he was very emphatic about, you know, I need something that's going to help me sleep. I don't want to wake up in the middle of the night. I want to sleep through the night.
According to testimony, Michael Jackson spent a portion of his last 24 hours dancing and singing at a rehearsal and was glad to see fans outside the Staples Center when he finished. He returned home and couldn't sleep, so he asked Conan Murray to administer the sedatives lorazepam and midazolam intravenously. When that didn't work, he took a Valium pill. Finally, he asked Murray to give him the propofol, a general anesthetic that anesthetizes in 40 seconds. Once in the body, propofol affects GABA receptors in the central nervous system. A mild dose causes decrease in eye pressure, cardiac output, and consciousness, but an overdose can make patients stop breathing.
I'm a board-certified cardiologist. I'm an interventional cardiologist. I have authority to write pain medication, controlled substance. I can write prescription on anything I want, but not on propofol. So that tells you how difficult access to this medication is. Well, this is the normal setup in a hospital situation or ambulatory care situation where you have a patient lying and have a oxygen hookup for sure, and then we are checking all the vitals and blood pressure, the heart rate, and make sure all the oxygen is available here in case the patient needs oxygen. And after reviewing the medical history, then we go for the medication. We explain to the patient, and usually we give them a very short period of time. Like the procedure I do, we give them Depavan only for 5 minutes at the most, or maybe less. The anesthesiologist is standing next to the patient all the time. So I may be coming out or coming in, but anesthesiologist through the entire duration is with patient. He's constantly monitoring, his eyes rolling from different views, from looking at the monitor, look at the patient, look at the vitals. So he's there constantly all the time until patient regain consciousness and become awake. So it's not that the anesthesiologist alone there. There's a whole team of people who can support anesthesiologists right there in a fraction of a second request to get help. So this is a setting where you can get anything you want to support the patient in case the patient have a problem or stop breathing and is not regaining consciousness. The whole team will show up within a minute or so, and then you have all the help you need. No matter how much you want to do or how much money you want to spend, there's no way logistically that you can arrange all of that outside the hospital. It's just not going to happen. If assume he has given a medication, although we don't know for sure anything, he's done, because the way anybody is not supposed to give medication, and you're giving a wrong medication or non-prescribed medication, the state board will take your license away from you. There's no other choice. Plus the criminal charges you're going through. But cardiologists like me never ever dreamed to give this medication to anybody.
What you must also keep in mind is that when Michael first passed, right after that, the following morning, I was told, the coroner came and he said that whoever did this intentionally. Michael had enough propofol in him, he said, to kill an elephant.
Wow.
Now, mind you, propofol, it just leaves your body immediately. With Michael, it didn't, because he had a kidney and liver problem. So that made it stay into his system.
But you don't think it was Dr. Murray who did it?
Well, I think there was a conspiracy, right? Absolutely, Elizabeth. It was a conspiracy, and a lot of people were involved in this, and they know who they are, and they're very afraid of what I might say, of what my brother has told me.
Was he used in your mind, Dr. Murray I'm speaking of, as the sort of hitman in terms of this conspiracy?
I think, honestly, in my total belief is that Dr. Murray was just the fall guy simply because he knew what was going on, but I don't know to what extent. Okay. And I can't say. I wasn't there when my brother was murdered.
But doesn't it boil down to who actually administered the propofol?
Exactly. Right. Well, who actually injected it into him completely?
Which would be that would be the person who would be tried.
Somebody was in Michael's house outside of that doctor during that time. Now that I do know, and I know who that person was that was in his house. Now whether that person did that or not, that I don't know.
But if you're saying that Dr. Murray is just the fall guy, and that there are people, you know, way bigger than him that was behind this, what do you want to see happen to Dr. Murray?
Well, first of all, let's look at it this way. If Dr. Murray, let's think about something. Now, if you're hiring an artist to sing for you and go out and perform, and you hire a doctor as well, the first thing you tell that doctor, if he asks for an aspirin, don't you give it to him until you consult us. That's the first thing. Why would you let a doctor be in there knowing that he's doing this and allow that to happen? Your concern would be more or less, don't give him anything. Why are they just letting this doctor do whatever he wants? Even when Michael said, I don't want the doctor around me, this is what was being said the last days, but no, you got to have this person with you.
Why do you think Michael was concerned about this? What were they after?
Well, first of all, he told me over and over and over. When he first told me, LaToya, they're going to kill me, I said, who, Michael? First, I thought you're Michael Jackson. Nobody in their right mind would ever think of doing anything like this to you. That's what you think. He says, no, but you don't understand. And then I saw how serious he was. He said, it's bigger than what you think. I said, well, Michael, what is it? He said, it's my publishing. They're after my publishing. They want to take it. As you guys know, my brother had one of the largest catalogs in the world, meaning music-wise.
The Beatles collection was one of them.
He owned the Beatles, yes. Yeah. There's an elevator music that you hear, just everything, basically.
You know, let me just say this. The tradition of great performers from, and I really want you to hear what I have to say. The tradition of great performers from Sammy Davis Jr. to James Brown to Jackie Wilson to Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly. The story is usually the same though. You know, these guys work really hard at their craft, but the story ends the same because the companies take advantage of them. They really do. And Sony being being the artist that I am at Sony, I've generated several $1 billion for Sony. Several billion. And they really thought that my mind is always on music and dancing, and it usually is, but they never thought that this performer, myself, would outthink them.
Yeah!
So we can't let them get away with what they're trying to do, because now I'm a free agent. I just owe Sony one more album. It's just a box set, really. It's with 2 new songs, which I've written ages ago. Because every album that I record, I write, like, literally, I'm telling you the truth, I write at least 120 songs every album I do. So I can do the box set and just give them any 2 songs. So I'm leaving Sony a free agent, owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know.
Tell him! Tell him, Michael! Tell the story!
But so the way they get revenge is to try and destroy my album. But I've always said, you know, good art never dies. Thank you. I love Unbreakable. You know. And Tommy Mottola is a devil. I'm not supposed to say what I'm going to say right now, but I have to let you in on a secret.
Say it.
So, please don't videotape what I'm going to say, okay? Turn that off, please. No, what? I don't mind. Tape it.
Oh! Michael is getting gangster today! Yeah.
Mariah Carey, after divorcing Tommy, came to me crying. She was crying so badly I had to hold her. And she said to me that this is an evil man. And Michael, this man follows me, she said. He taps her phones. And he's very, very evil, and she doesn't trust him. And he is a horrible human being. And we have to continue our drive until he's terminated.
Oh! There you go!
We can't allow him to do this to great artistry. We just can't. I just want you to know I appreciate everything you've done. You've been amazing. You're so loyal, Diana. Everybody, Waldo, all the people here, I love you all. You've been amazing.
Thank you!
I love you. But still, I promise you, the best is yet to come.
I'm really intrigued because you say that there was somebody at this house and you know who it was. Can you say who it was?
No, I cannot say, because there were other people in the house as well. Because I prefer not to at the moment, but I will say this. I would love to have a one-on-one with several people. One person I would love to have. Safe? I would love to have a one-on-one with probably.
I mean, did you say that because you think that you could instinctively get from them if they had a hand in his death?
Why don't you leave it to the law to deal with this?
Okay, you said leave it to the law to deal with this. Yeah. Yes, of course, the law is dealing with this, but however, you must think about it this way. Joy, if you had a brother or sister that passed, and you knew that your sister or brother were telling you that they were going to do this to him, that it was a group of people, and this is what's going to happen to me step by step, the way he said it, not only to me, but to my mother as well, wouldn't you be concerned and wouldn't you be involved to find out who did it?
Some fireworks today. Of course, Tommy Mottola is the head of Sony Corporation. Multi-platinum singer Michael Jackson is feuding with Sony and Tommy Mottola. Sony is, of course, his big-name record company. At a speech and rally with Reverend Al Sharpton in Harlem today, the gloved wonder charged that the recording industry was a racist conspiracy that turns profits at the expense of performers, particularly minority artists. Reverend Sharpton has recently formed a coalition to investigate whether some artists are financially exploited.
And we want the artists to be free We don't want the companies bigger than the artists. We want the people respected and the stars that we make stars to shine in the galaxy for us. We were already off the wall, and we coming off our seats to stand up for justice in the music industry.
This is very important because throughout the years, black artists have been taken advantage of completely. And it's time now that we have to put a stop to this incredible, incredible injustice. And like Mrs. Sharpton was saying, people from James Brown to Sammy Davis Jr., some of the real pioneers that, that inspired me to be the entertainer that I am. These artists are always on tour because if they stopped touring, they would totally go broken. And it's been, the record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Now let me say this.
Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
Into this way, and whoever else, artists that are on their label that are being sucks. Sony sucks. Sony sucks. I want to hear the guys in the back.
I think it's important to be here. I'm not just fighting for myself, I'm fighting for all artists. Those great artists who pioneered, you know, entertainment business as well as songwriting, as well as incredible staging. You know, the fact that they have been taken by the system, totally broken them financially. You know, and this has to stop. It's conspiracy.
You said out there that you felt that Sony was racist.
I didn't say Sony was racist. I said Tommy Mottola is racist.
Who's the head of Sony?
Yeah, Tommy Mottola.
Do you feel the recording industry as a whole has been, you use the word sort of conspiracy against black artists. Why do you think this has happened?
Why do I think this is? Because money is the root of all evil.
You also said out there that you believe that some of the recording companies take black artists' money. We brought up James Brown and some of these others. At the end of their careers are broke and penniless. Yeah. What is your financial situation?
I'm in an incredible financial situation. I just wrote somebody a check for $500 million. But when good news doesn't sell, if there's something negative and that's a rumor, that's when it's blasted. No. I don't expect the press to say anything good, you know.
Well, I hear one of your dreams is to do directing. Yes. Tell, what are some of the other things you want to do in your career?
Films. I'm going to make our own motion pictures, and I have a movie coming up I'm directing, and, you know, great entertainment.
What do you think of Reverend Al Sharpton, and why is his support so important at this time for you?
Because he's an incredible orator, and he is supported by, you know, the public in, I think, a beautiful way, and he understands. We need a mouthpiece, a voice for the voiceless, you know, and he's the guy.
Ultimately, it will be up to the legal system to deal with this. But you could be called as a witness by the prosecution. But of course, they consider that hearsay.
Yeah, that's of course.
Does your family? Yeah, I know you guys talk. You're very close. Do they agree with the conspiracy theory?
Oh yes, oh
They
yes.
do.
A lot of the members agree with it. Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Okay, now you know, now the Jackson estate, it's not run by anybody from the Jackson family.
Nobody from the family.
It's run by two men who you feel were part of the conspiracy.
You know, we always hear the conspiracy theories, like, you know, they be like, oh, Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC. Michael's the only person I believe they really, really tried to railroad like that because of what he did with the publishing in the music industry.
He talked about it all the time. He talked about it all the time. One thing I will say is that in the studio, he would always talk about how he lived in a certain fear. And I used to always try to reel him in a direction like, yo, you only supposed to fear God. Man shouldn't have you feeling like that. No man should have you living in that space. But he lived in that space a lot because he felt like he had something that was so valuable, which he did. He had something so valuable that people wanted.
He owned like half of Sony ATV's publishing, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you said it that way because I think people have confused the narrative. People for so long have said, Michael owned the Beatles catalog.
I heard that.
No, Michael owned Sony ATV.
That's right.
Which is Babyface, Mariah, the Beatles.
Beyonce.
Probably some of my catalog was in there.
Isn't
You
that
feel
like half
me?
the
Like,
music industry?
yes. At the time, you had three giants. Sony was pretty much the biggest out the three at that time. And they did a deal with him that forever he felt that they wanted back.
You think they threw all those cases at Michael because they wanted it back?
I think it could have had something to do with it. I'm not going to say exactly that, but it could have had something to do with it. But I believe none of it because I was around Mike all the time and I knew the kind of person he was. So I'm like, they really trying to kill his character.
Yeah, I don't believe
And
it.
he would say it, like, he'd be like, they just can't stand that I'm the greatest. He would literally say that. He would literally say that. They just can't stand that I'm the greatest.
How was his mind frame during that time? Did he feel like the culture, especially black people, supported him and loved him, or did he feel like the world was turning against him?
Now, I would say we started to surround him with that. Like, if you look, there was a period where I think he didn't feel that. And I felt like he was like, I need this, right? So there were certain people that he started to reach out to put their arms around him, and he started to feel that. That's why he would do a summer jam with Jay-Z. He knew, like, I need people to have my back in this, and then certain people did wrap their arms around him.
Yeah.
And as things progressed, the one thing I can tell you about Michael that I started to learn was his family was strong. When they got together and wore all that white, they were wearing those white, going into court each day, you saw that unity in a different type of light. You're like, oh, yo, these Jacksons, they're not playing around with this. They unified. And I think that helped him, even though he was like probably going through it mentally weak and all of that. It's tough when you know you pretty much own something that everybody wants.
Michael Jackson has set another music industry record. Sony Music has struck a $250 million deal with the estate of the King of Pop. The partners say it's the biggest in recording history. It includes the release of 10 albums over the next 7 years, mixing unreleased material and older tracks. Sony also will license Jackson's songs for movies and video games. The pop star died last year at the age of 50.
Now, have Michael's kids, have anybody in the family received any money from his estate currently?
As of last week, from what I was told, no.
No, you haven't gotten any money.
No, from what I was told.
Okay, now we have to. I have to read a quote from the Jackson estate. It says, quote, "The outrageous and obviously false statements made by LaToya Jackson are further examples of her willingness to say anything involving her brother for attention and money," end of quote. They go on to say that.
Stop there.
Well, I got to read the entire quote, LaToya. Okay. They go on to say that Michael appointed them as his executors and say, quote, "Their success in generating unprecedented revenues from Michael's estate, coupled with their persevering, protecting, and enhancing Michael Jackson's legacy speaks for itself."
Family friend and former manager Frank DeLeo says he's seen the will.
Well, I'll make sure that the will is lived up to. And I will make sure that everything that the children or Catherine in the will be done. That's the important thing, is to carry out Michael's wishes, not everybody else's, Michael's wishes.
Joe Jackson says the family has not seen the will.
I think we're going to have to wait and see whether Michael Jackson had a will, if he had set up trusts for the children. But it's also possible there was no trust, in which case whoever is guardian for the children will very likely be in a position to be managing whatever assets they get for their benefit.
And while it's been widely reported that Jackson has mountains of debt, as much as $400 million, his assets as a former friend and business partner, Mark Schaffel, are plenty to take care of the kids.
The assets are more than the debt. I mean, the Sony catalog is an incredible investment. That's going to be worth money for the rest of its entity.
Since Michael died last June, he sold 31 million albums. I mean, what's happened is really ironic, because before he died, for a few years, his career was cold. Right. And his finances were in shambles. And since he's died, everything's taken off. Everything.
31 million albums. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot.
And Sony wants to stay in business with him as a recording artist. And you have to remember that this amount of money, which is really, they're saying 250, but it's really about $225 million. That amount of money is just for recordings.
Right.
It doesn't include his publishing. It's not merchandise. It's not live shows that they're going to have around.
Right.
You know,
based on his music or whatever. Okay, sure.
This is just for the recordings, and it starts with Sony owed the estate money for the This Is It soundtrack.
Okay.
For the movie. So that's already part of this deal.
Oh, this is part of that deal.
Yeah. So that inflated.
Quite honestly,
yeah,
this might be a very, very good deal for Sony.
Oh, this is a great deal for everybody.
Yeah.
It's a great deal for everybody because Sony's always been in business with Michael Jackson
Right.
since 1979.
Sure.
So they want to keep it that way. They have the catalog, and this is very good for them.
You know, I think I went and looked up the Elvis estate.
Right.
Because a couple of years ago, somebody spent $100 million just to get a piece of the Elvis estate.
Right.
Because it still generates, after what who died in his 70s.
But that includes.
Still generates all kinds of money.
That was a good deal, but that was just merchandising.
Right.
And even Madonna and Jay-Z have deals that were pretty lucrative last year.
Right.
But they included concert tours and all
Okay.
that.
All right.
The only deal that was close to this was Bruce Springsteen, also at Sony.
Right.
5 years ago, got $100 million.
Interesting.
And that was very
just-
controversial.
Right.
But this is really the big deal of all time.
So how does this, it's very interesting because, you know, we observed his family so closely through
Yes.
all of this. They must be pleased.
Well, the kids are really the beneficiaries of this. Michael's 3 kids.
okay.
Because it goes to his estate. And they're the prime beneficiaries. And his mother will get something. But those are really the only people who really get anything out of this.
So Joe and the brothers do not stand to gain from this per se?
No. Well, you know, Joe Jackson has been petitioning the court asking for an allowance.
Right.
Even though he wasn't in the will, specifically not in the will. And now I can tell you that he's been offered a monthly allowance of $15,000 a month, and he doesn't want it. It's not enough for him. So he's still carrying on in court. But that's a whole other story.
Wow.
But the kids, at least, who are great kids, and they're fixed for life.
Wow, that is
indeed. So hopefully they'll grow up nicely and be able to spend it well.
Michael Jackson's only daughter, 27-year-old Paris, walking into a Los Angeles court Wednesday morning, seeking transparency and accountability from the executors of her father's estate.
No comment.
John Branca and John McClane were appointed co-executors shortly after the King of Pop's death back in 2009. In the nearly 17 years since, they've taken the estate from over $500 million in debt to an estimated net worth more than $2 billion. However, for years, Jackson's children and executors have been feuding about how the estate is being managed. Most notably, the pop star's 3 children, Paris, Prince, and Biggie, raising concerns about excessive attorney fees, bonuses, and gifts they say Branca and McCain have given to themselves and their associates. The most recent trial brief alleging that Mr. Branca has lost sight of his fiduciary obligations and belies executors' constant claims of transparency and diligence. Of particular concern, $625,000 in non-contractual gifts to law firms without consent of the heirs. The executors firing back, claiming the fees, bonuses, and gifts are just the cost of doing business, and that Paris is ignoring an earlier ruling saying they are entitled to an award of attorney's fees.
The way the estate attorneys frame it is that they're not probate attorneys getting paid an hourly rate. They invested in this. This was a business, a venture, and their investment paid off. The fees they didn't take up front, they are now earning on the back end.
The executors also pointing out in court documents last year, Paris received approximately $65 million in benefits from their handling of her father's estate. This isn't the only time Paris Jackson has taken a stance on her father's legacy. She notably distanced herself from Michael, the upcoming biopic about her famous father, starring her cousin, Jafar Jackson, posting on Instagram,
I just prefer honesty over sales and monetary gain.
So, Liz, bottom line here, exactly what is Paris and her brothers, what are they asking for?
Yeah, Craig, well, a source close to Paris says they want more accountability and more transparency about how the estate's money is being spent. Specifically, the Jacksons are asking the court to reject any bonuses for attorneys that are billing an hourly rate, or at least require that the siblings give their approval for that. The source close to Paris called the court hearing yesterday contentious, but they said they feel good about how the day went. They are still awaiting the judge's ruling.
What you have to look at and think about, look at it this way. These are the guys that knew Michael was worth more dead than alive.
Welcome back. Michael Jackson's film, This Is It, is the highest-selling concert film and documentary ever. earning more than $250 million. It was released after his death and highlights how some big celebrities like the King of Pop continue to rake it in even after they pass away. Yakenda McGahee has more.
It is said that imitation is the highest form of flattery, and in the case of Michael Jackson, imitation on film, on stage, and on wax has catapulted him to the highest earners of all celebrities, both dead and alive.
Many of the times when we have this most dramatic effect, it's when someone does die young. So we've talked here about Marilyn Monroe and Elvis Presley, and now we're talking about Michael Jackson.
Experts say the Jackson estate has earned over $1 billion since his 2008 death, mainly from music and memorabilia sales.
Last chance and selling.
Publishing deals, his Sony record music catalog, 2-hit Las Vegas Cirque du Soleil shows,
We're here for Michael Jackson.
and DVD earnings from the top-selling concert film, This Is It. So it's easy to see how Jackson became the highest-earning celebrity last year, the third time in 5 years that the top-earning celebrity came from the grave. But when there's a lot of money to be made, says USC law professor Ed McCaffery, there's also a lot of money to be paid.
If you die with assets, stock, bonds, real estate, cars, jewelry, artwork, that's worth more than $5 million, the government's going to take 40% of the excess over $5 million. In Jackson's case, he didn't die with a lot of liquid assets because he was broke. His celebrity image, his property rights, he says in his estate that it was worth about $2,500. The IRS comes in and says it's worth $540 million.
Experts say if it is determined that Jackson's image is worth in excess of $500 million, Jackson's flourishing estate could be subject to a U.S. tax bill in the neighborhood of $200 to $300 million.
All of his things that you see are being sewed and thrown into just so many different mixes, and the movie came out right away. As a matter of fact, by the time Michael passed, right away, everything was being collected. Again, I was told all the footage from the movie was collected. Everybody, the doors were locked. It says no.
Making a movie, right?
We have to.
Because this is a part of a premeditation. Everything was premeditated.
Well, we're going to find out more in this book. LaToya, thank you so much for coming by. We want to thank LaToya Jackson.
How do you think he died? You've been quoted as saying you believe it may have been murder. Do you still think that?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why are you so sure?
I would never, ever think differently. Because, first of all, Michael told me that they were going to murder him. He was afraid. He was afraid for his life. Who was going to murder him? The people that were involved in his life, the people that were controlling him. This book, Starting Over, is about my life. And it's about Michael's life. It's the parallel between the two of our lives. We share that same life where people come into your life, wiggle their way in, control you, manipulate, control your funds, your finances, everything that you have, and you must do what they tell you to do.
You want a divorce from Jack, but Jack won't give you a divorce? Is that
He
it?
wouldn't give me a divorce for years.
Okay.
You've wanted to divorce him for years. I didn't know that.
Yes.
All right. Now,
Oh.
now, LaToya.
But I told him we can always remain manager and artist, but I just wanted a divorce. When I left home, I was innocent, I was naive. It was so easy for me to be taken advantage of. I was brainwashed by him. I really felt like a robot. I was being beaten.
Nothing has upset the family as much as LaToya's marriage to Jack Gordon, a Las Vegas hustler 18 years her senior. The Jackson family believed that Gordon was brainwashing LaToya, and they feared for her safety.
Myself and the family loves LaToya very much, and the doors are always open for her to come home.
Now, it looks like their biggest fear may have come true, and they want her home more than ever.
Please step out of the way.
Yesterday, Jack Gordon was arrested for beating up LaToya. When police arrived at the couple's apartment, they say LaToya was on the floor bleeding. At his arraignment, Gordon said he and LaToya had an argument, and he hit her only after she came at him with a knife. Gordon was released without bail after telling the court he was undergoing radiation treatment for cancer 5 days a week.
He's still her husband and still her manager, but she wanted to have say-so in the decisions. And between that and the radiation treatment and the mood swings, it may have just triggered him.
LaToya's friend, reporter Florence Anthony, has been talking with LaToya since her release from the hospital.
She looks terrible. Her mouth is swollen, maybe the size of my whole hand.
He dictated my career choices. I mean, they went from Playboy to writing the book. He made me say the things that he wanted me to say in my interviews.
Latoya, I've been reading your book the last couple of days, and I'm very much impressed. Let me tell you that. Because after reading it, I thought, what the hell did they do to you? What the hell did your father do to you? He abused you. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as you know from reading the book, there was a lot of abuse in the family. There was not only physical and emotional abuse, but there was also sexual abuse. And I think this is something that needs to be addressed to the world, to the public, to let people know that sexual abuse is wrong, and we should put a stop to it. My father was a very abusive person, and I think he didn't know how to control it, or he didn't know or realize what he was doing. He did lots of things. He would beat us constantly. He would take guns and put them to our heads and pull the trigger all the time until the day I left home. He would take matches and burn our toes, and he would laugh, and we couldn't do anything. Because if you would say no or whatever when you were asleep and he's burning your toes, he would beat you. So you'd have to stay there and just take the pain and not do anything.
What kind of man is this?
Well, I think he's mentally deranged, don't you?
I agree with you.
I think he's mentally disturbed. I don't think that...
But still, Latoya, you stayed with your parents till you were 30 years old. Why didn't you...
Until I was 29, yes, a very long time.
Why didn't you get out of the house sooner?
I made several attempts to leave. And, you know, you can ask me this question. Yes, of course. I made several attempts to leave. But I never could leave because my father would always say, wherever you go, I'm going to find you and bring you back home. And my mother was sort of like the silent partner. And she would always say, but it's not good for you to be out there alone. You're a girl and someone can follow you and follow you home, and it's very dangerous. But as you asked me that question...
So he terrorized the whole family in a way, didn't he?
Everybody. I was basically next to the last to leave home. Michael left home 1 week after I did. And you could say, why did he stay? He could have left as well, but he didn't.
He not only did terrible things to you with matches and things like that, but he also sexually abused you.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
Yes, I don't want to get graphic with it, but yes, it was quite terrible. He would abuse my sister. We slept in the same bed, and he would sexually abuse her. He would come into the bed constantly, and I was right there in the same bed. And my mother would allow it to happen. She would say to him sometimes, Joe, not tonight. She's tired, don't bother her. And I would be right there in the bed, and I would keep the covers over my head because I would hear my sister fighting and screaming. And she asked my mother to go to a psychiatrist and get a psychiatrist for him, but she said no, not at all. So my sister left home at a very young age, and when she left home, then my father started sexually abusing me.
Who do you hate more? Your father who did these things to you, or your mommy?
I don't like to use the word hate.
Because I think you hate somebody who does that to you.
It's a wrong word to use, I think, this word hate. But I know that I should. Most people tell me that. Psychologists tell me that I should hate. But my mother, yes. Because my father was disturbed. I think any man who sexually abused his daughter, something is wrong right here. But nothing was wrong with my mother, and she allowed him to do these things. It's very wrong. You don't allow your husband to sexually abuse your children like this.
In general, Latoya, is it possible for you, after everything that happened to you, to have a normal relationship, not only sexual, but with a man? Difficult question?
Yes, it's a difficult question.
The answer is no, I think.
No, it's just a difficult question.
Out of a highly dysfunctional family, although on the surface it seemed like the American dream.
Yes, of course, naturally. In our family, because that was always that facade up there, smiling in front of the cameras, but when we got home, it was totally different. We lived an entirely different lifestyle at home.
Well, what was it like at home?
It was very, very hard. My father was very strict. He beat us.
Well, when you say he beat you, did he spank you, whip you? I mean, what?
He had a belt, you say in the book. Belts, whips, whatever. My brothers were grown, and my father would take his fist and he would punch them and knock them down the steps constantly.
Would they provoke him?
To this day, no, of course not. To this day, they are still afraid of my father, and they will tell you. They come to me and they say, Latoya, we have kids in college, and we're afraid of my father still today. But my mother allowed this to go on, which makes it so bad. She didn't stop it.
She, too, was an abuse victim, wasn't she?
My mother, by my father, according to my brother, yes. According to Michael, he would tell me he would see my father beating my mother. I had never seen my father beat my mother. But he beats all of us.
So did this persist all through your childhood and continue into young adulthood?
Adults, everything. I mean, Michael was doing, I think it was Off the Wall, Thriller, and he was still getting beat. But what you guys see is him up on the awards, accepting these awards, and smiling. And my father's chasing him around the house, and he's running from him, terrified.
You said that Michael was the only one that actually tried to fight back and tried to hit your father. He was a little boy, yes. He was the only one. I don't think he knew exactly what he was doing. But the more he would get beat, he'd throw it back at him and throw a shoe. He would have to always get the last lick in, always.
What's been the reaction of your family to this book?
I have no idea. My parents, of course, they're denying it. And, of course, typical that they would deny it. Denial is the first sign of dysfunctional and abuse as well. However, outsiders have accepted the book. And they can understand. They understand about the abuse. There wasn't just physical abuse. It was also mental abuse, which is very disturbing, and also sexual abuse as well. That you don't write about in the book. You allude to it, that your sister Rebbie left. I touch it very lightly because it's a very touchy subject, and it's dealing with my sister, and I wasn't able to talk about myself just yet. You have to be ready to come out and talk about these things. And it's a very sad story because Rebbie is a wonderful person, I must say, and she left home at a very young age. She left home when she was, I think it was 16 years old. And the reason she left is because my father would get out of the bed with my mother, and he would get in the bed with Rebbie. And Rebbie would ask my mother, please, mother, get help for him. And she wouldn't. She would not. So Rebbie had to leave home. There were times, of course, when my mother would say, Joe, not tonight. Leave her alone. Let her rest. Don't get in the bed with her. And then Rebbie called me, and she said to me, she says, Latoya, I have a question I want to ask you. I said, what is it, Rebbie? And she said, when I left home all these years, now this is just recent, all these years I wondered if Joseph ever sexually abused you the way he did me. Was it happening with you and Janet? And I couldn't answer her. And she says, please tell me, and I wouldn't. It's things that you don't talk about. And she says, Latoya, you have to tell me. And I said, Rebbie, there are just certain things you don't talk about, isn't there? And she says, okay, I understand. And that's when she asked me about Janet. And I said, I don't know what happened to Janet. But what about you, Latoya? Did he sexually abuse you? Yes, he did. Very badly,
Do you think he did Janet?
I don't know. She's never spoken about it. I certainly hope he didn't. She has never spoken about it. My father, it began with me when Rebbie left, and then it started with me.
So when did you decide that you were going to talk about it?
You live with this all your life, and you feel that you're doing something wrong, and you're frightened when this is happening to you. And you're embarrassed. I have been embarrassed all my life to ever talk about it, to mention it, shy, afraid that people can see through me and see that this is happening.
You felt like your family's living a lie all these years.
Well, they have been living a lie, definitely. But the disturbing and hurting part about it all is that my mother never did anything about it. And I wanted her so badly to say, Latoya, is he bothering you? Is he touching you? Did he touch you? I would direct questions to her and throw them at her, leaving it open so she could say, Latoya, did he ever touch you?
Why wouldn't she leave him then if it's
That's what Rebbie would always say, Mother. And Rebbie would tell me, I don't know why Mother didn't leave him. And you got to think, sometimes I say, is it because there are so many children? No, it wasn't that. Because after a while, everybody was old enough.
You've never asked your mom that?
Yes. She has no answer to it.
Is this the first time you've heard from her?
No, I've heard that letter before.
No, you haven't. They're sending it out to everybody before
everybody has this letter before I go on to show my parents send this letter out. Again, that's a sign of just wanting to deny everything. And it hurt so bad when I was on another program and my family, my parents actually, I should say, denied everything.
What kind of evidence do you have that your brother did in fact sexually abuse these young boys?
I want you to know that there aren't really any evidence. The only thing that I know of, and my mother has actually shown me these things, she's the one that was outraged and brought them to me, that were checks that were written to the little boy's parents. And there are 2 checks that I know of that she has shown me, and it's for a substantial amount of money. And she was outraged over it.
How much money and are you certain you know what these checks were for? Let's say that Michael...
I don't know what they were for, but I know they were written to the parents of the little boys that would sleep over.
You're just assuming then that it's hush money. Did your mother ever tell you that this money was being given to the alleged the parents of the alleged victims to keep them quiet?
That's why I can't say that it's hush money. Apparently, it was given for some reason. I don't know why, but I do know that she was outraged during that particular time. This is around 84, mind you. And she would say things like, I can't stand this. He's nothing but a fag. I can't stand this. And I would say, Mother, don't say that. Just because you see a check doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean anything.
But basically...
And that's the way she took it. Now, to this day, she denies it because she has no support. In other words, if she were to go and tell the truth, Michael would drop everything and she would probably be out on the street. So she has to stand by in that way. But the only reason I'm speaking up is because I'm an abused victim, and I don't want to see anyone else hurt like that, because I know what it feels like to be hurt.
But basically, I'm sorry, LaToya, I was going to say basically because of these checks shown to you by your mother and the fact that Michael, do you know for sure that he spent 30 nights with this alleged victim?
I have never, ever, Katie, seen Michael in the bed with another boy. Never. I have never seen him. I do know that he would have boys over all the time. One, of course, and they would stay in the room for days. Then they would come out, and then there would be another boy, and he would bring someone else, but never two at a time or anything like that. Let me ask you a question. What 35-year-old man do you know that sleeps with little boys and stays with them for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and sleep in the same bed? I'm asking you this question because this is a valid question. It's very open. Because most people would say, well, this is totally wrong. It's totally unfair.
Yeah, most people might...
You know, what you have to remember is that Jordy, I do not know this kid. I have never met this kid. I know nothing about him. But at the same time, I feel bad for him, and no one's caring about Jordy. Jordy is in a very bad position. Even if it's not Michael, his parents have put him in a bad position. And there are a lot of Jordys out there.
Have you talked, LaToya, with your parents since making the statements last night in Tel Aviv?
I haven't spoken to my parents, no.
What's your reaction to what your folks had to say, LaToya?
My mother is very much aware of all the children that were there, all the boys that stayed there, and she is the one who always said that Michael, excuse my expression, but he's a faggot, and she would say, that damn faggot, I can't stand him. And that's what she would say all the time, and she knows it, and now she's denying it, and that's what hurts. But what hurts more than anything else is that if she knew that, then why didn't she say something about it or do something about it or get help because she felt that he was bothering little kids? I didn't understand the fact that he was bothering little kids. I didn't understand why the checks were written. She was the one who was trying to explain these things to me.
You claim
but now she's denying it and covering it up.
You claim that the reason your mom is siding with Michael is because your parents and the rest of your family are afraid that they'll be cut off financially from him.
He supports every last one of them. Jermaine lives in that house. His children lives in that house. Everybody lives there. He supports them.
You know, your mother also...
And I must tell you this, too, Katie. By the way, Michael and I lived at home from anywhere from 10 to 15 years alone without the other brothers because they married very early. They do not know the same Michael that I know. They don't know him whatsoever. And they never did. And when they would come over to the house, Michael would say, have them make an appointment. And I was the in-between guy, like a go-between. I would have to make excuses and say, well, he's busy, he's in his room. He'd run up to his room and say, I don't want to see them, I don't want to be bothered with him. And these are his own brothers. And I would have to make up excuses, and I go, Michael, but they're your brothers. I don't care, I'm busy.
Your mom also said that she thought your husband was a con man and a thug and accused him of beating and brainwashing you. And basically your folks say you're just out for publicity.
That's totally untrue. First of all, I don't need it. They also said I was doing it for the money. When you do a press conference, do you do that for the money? I think it's time to speak up and save innocent children.
Have you spoken?
No one has spoke up.
Go ahead, LaToya, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No one has really spoken out properly. No one has said anything about these children. And I think it's totally unfair. You have to ask yourself a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions to be answered and asked at the same time.
How many young children do you believe Michael?
Sorry?
How many young children do you believe Michael victimized?
I can't really answer that.
And have you had an opportunity to speak with your brother yet?
No, I have not. And I have tried, but I have not. I put phone calls in, but nothing has been returned. Absolutely nothing.
Do you think he'll be coming back to the United States, LaToya?
The problem is my parents, especially my mother, more than so my father has no idea. My mother knows that I know a lot, and she's afraid of what I might say, as well as Michael, because they know that I know too much. And now I think it's time to put an end to all of this.
Do you think Michael will come back to the United States?
I have no idea.
All right. LaToya Jackson, thanks very much for talking with us. Perhaps you can come on and talk with us another time.
I must tell you that this is very difficult for me, that Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. And if I remain silent, then I means that I feel the guilt and the humiliation that these children are feeling, and I think it's very wrong. I have seen checks payable to the parents of these children. And I don't know if these children were apparently brought to the parents by Michael or not. But I have seen these checks. And I've seen these checks through my mother. She's shown me these checks that Michael had written to these children, and it's for a great amount. And I'm not speaking pennies. The sums are a very, very large amount. And this is my first time talking about it, and I never want to speak about it. I never want to say anything about it. But I think it's sad because I am a victim myself, and I know what it feels like. And these kids are going to be scarred for the rest of their life, and I don't want to see any more innocent small children being affected this way. I love Michael very dearly, but I feel even more sorry for these children because they don't have a life anymore. They don't. Now you stop and you think for 1 second, and you tell me what 35-year-old man is going to take a little boy and stay with him for 30 days, and take another boy and stay with him for 5 days, in a room and never leave the room. How many of you out there are 35 years old? How many men are out there? How many would take little kids and do that are 9, 10, 11 years old? I love my brother, but it's wrong. I don't want to see these kids hurt. I've been hurt by it, too. My father molested me sexually, and I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. And to this day, this is my husband, and he can vouch for this. I will not have a relationship with him because of that. But I love him dearly, but I cannot. Perhaps one day I will come to terms with it, and I will be able to. But for now, I can't do it. And that's what I don't want to see happen to these little kids, because I know what it feels like.
She can't stop. She can't stop her from making There's nothing you
Some
can do.
chamomile tea over there that might settle it down. Of course, problem is it might put you to sleep. You're welcome. Mr. Jackson, in the latter portion of 1993, there were some allegations leveled at you concerning improper conduct with some young boys. I assume you're familiar with the fact that those allegations were raised. Is that right?
Yes.
In fact, there was ultimately at least 2 grand jury inquiries into that I am currently aware of, although counsel tells me there may have been a third. Were you aware that grand jury investigations were conducted into those allegations?
Yes.
Strike that. Did you know at the time that the grand jury was investigating these matters that they were in fact investigating? In other words, you didn't find out after it had completed. You knew in advance that people were being subpoenaed to testify.
In advance?
Yeah, poorly phrased. Let me rephrase it. It is my understanding that some of Neverland Valley Ranch employees were subpoenaed to testify before the grand jury. Do you know that to be the case as well?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a person named Jordy Chandler?
We're not going there. Don't answer. We're not going to get into who he knows and doesn't know. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask it. But I believe it's beyond the scope of discoverable matters in the case.
Whether he knows of Jordy Chandler?
Right.
You're not going to allow me to ask him any questions about Jordan Chandler in any fashion?
Well, we'll take them one by one, but...
Well, I can't ask him whether he knows him. I suppose that would sort of preclude other ones, don't you think?
Yeah, probably would.
And may I ask, for the record, what the basis upon which you are going to refuse to allow this witness to disclose whether he knows Mr. Jordan Chandler? As you know, counsel, during the course of discovery in this case, you have already gone into, and I think Mr. Sanger has already gone into, at some depth, a deposition that was taken in the case of Jordy Chandler versus Michael Jackson, given by Adrian McManus. There are issues that are certainly relevant to my interest as to why you inquired as to those depositions that Adrian gave. And you're now telling me I can't even ask whether he knows the man or go into any such areas?
Yeah, let me
Isn't there a quote that comes to mind of what's good for the goose is good for the gander?
Oh, come on, counsel. What?
Aesop's fame.
Am I Let me just make sure my understanding is clear. Is it your position that you will instruct Mr. Jackson not to answer any questions that pertain to the issue of Jordy Chandler in any way, whether it be claims leveled by Jordy Chandler, if any, or discovery in the Jordy Chandler case vis-a-vis Adrienne McManus's deposition and allegations that she testified falsely? Any of that you're not going to let him go into?
That's right. I believe that's correct. With respect to the motivations that are, in your view, germane to the allegations made in the complaint, my client has testified that he knows nothing about those matters that you want to explore his motivations on. So therefore, there's a lack of foundation. But let's just go do what you want to do.
You've raised something that sort of catches me by surprise. You say your client has testified that he knows nothing about these matters. Is this at today's deposition you're referring to, or some other deposition that I was not present at?
Today.
That is strange, since I've not asked about that issue until just now. I have not asked about the allegations specifically. I have asked about investigation. Were you aware that Jordan Chandler or his family on his behalf filed a lawsuit against you?
Yes.
Okay. Were you aware that at some point in time in that lawsuit, Adrienne McManus gave her deposition?
I'm not positive.
Your answer confuses me. How do you mean you're not positive? You don't know whether she gave her deposition or not?
Exactly.
So then, if I understand it correctly, you are not going to allow me to go into any areas in connection with Brett Barnes. Is that right?
Well, you can ask. There's nothing I can think of, but if you... I'm not going to categorically say you can't ask anything about him, but I don't think there's anything relevant. So irrelevant that I'm not inclined to let you get into it unless there's an area that you believe is directly tied to the case.
Well, I believe it, but I have a feeling that my believing it's not going to convince you of much. To your knowledge, Mr. Jackson, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Brett Barnes?
Won't answer that.
Do you know a person by the name of Macaulay Culkin?
Yes.
Get your answer.
What happened at the house? That's what all these things that people are
that's
concerned
what's so
about.
weird,
What did happen?
Nothing happened, I mean, nothing really. I mean, we played video games, we played it as an amusement park. Well, the thing is with that whole thing is that, they go, oh, you slept in the same bedroom as him. It's like, I don't think you understand. Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories. And it has like 3 bathrooms and this and that. So when I slept in his bedroom, yeah, but you have to understand the whole scenario. And the thing is with Michael is that he's not very good at explaining himself, and he never really has been, because he's not a very social person. I mean, you're talking about someone who's been sheltered and sheltering himself also for the last 30 years, or and so he's not very good at communicating to people and not very good at conveying what he's actually trying to say to you. And so when he says something like that, people, he doesn't quite understand why people react the way that they do.
Why do you think he likes young people so much?
It's because it's the same reason why he liked me, was the fact that I didn't care who he was. That was the thing. I talked to him like he was a normal human being. And, it's a circus right now.
You think it's a bad rap?
I think so, yeah. I mean, listen, look what happened the first time this happened to him. If someone had done something like that to my kid, I wouldn't just settle for some money. I'd make sure the guy was in jail, and it just really goes to show, I mean, as soon as, they got the money and they ran, I mean, that's really what happened the first time.
Michael Jackson told me, in no uncertain terms, that settling that case in 1994 was the biggest mistake he'd ever made. He should never have settled it. He should have fought it through a trial. He would have won. It was an absurd case. But he was advised, he told me, by lawyers, by business advisors, to settle it and get rid of it.
And so, you know, I don't know, it's a little crazy, and I kind of have taken a step back from the whole thing, because it is a bit of a circus, and, you know, if the same thing was happening to me, I wouldn't want to drag him into it, and vice versa. So I try my best to keep a distance from it, but like I said, it's still a friend of mine.
If they asked you to be a character witness, would you appear?
I guess so, but I'd probably not. I mean, like I said, it's crazy, and I don't really want to be a part of it, you know?
Would you like him?
I like him, and he's a friend of mine. I'm not saying I wouldn't do something like that. It just hasn't been brought up to me, and I don't think he'd want me to either. Just because, like I said, you know, if the same thing was happening to me, I wouldn't want him to be.
What reaction has happened to you from all of this?
What do you mean?
I mean, people. Do people inquire of you a lot about it?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, you know, people always have like their opinions, and they always, you know, it's funny. I mean, people always talk to me about him because, you know, I'm one of these people who will tell you anything about my life, really, if you get me going, you know. And so, yeah, I mean, I freely and openly talk about him and stuff like that. But overall, you know, he's just a good friend of mine.
But you wish him well.
Yes, of course I do.
So you're going to let him answer questions about Macaulay Culkin?
Let him answer that one.
To your knowledge, were you ever accused of having sexually molested Macaulay?
That's an instruction not to answer on that one.
This is as good a copy of the document as I have available to me at this time. Let me ask you this. Do you recognize the handwriting on these two sheets?
Yes.
Do you know whose handwriting it is?
It's mine.
Do you know what these documents are?
Yeah.
What is this?
Crazy stories that people have created. Things I wanted to set straight in an interview.
Do you know with whom this interview was?
I think it could have been Diane Sawyer, whatever the interview was that I wanted to do. I wanted to set the record straight, that if people hear a lie long enough, people believe it, that people have lied on me. I'm a black American and I'm proud of it, and I'm honored of it. The bleach skin rumor, which is a rumor, I don't bleach my skin. They once said I wanted a white kid to play me as a child, which was a rumor. Inauguration rumor, saying I didn't want to do President Clinton's inauguration. I'm not gay. This says, don't judge a person unless you have spoken to them one-on-one, which is true. Because what you hear is a lie, untrue. I can't make out this part there.
It is illegible in portions, that's true.
And Jesus said to love the children and be like children. Be youthful and be innocent and be pure and honorable. He was talking to his apostles, and they were fighting over who's the greatest among themselves. And he said, whoever humbled yourself like this child is the greatest among me. And he always surrounded himself with children. And that's how I was raised, to believe and to be like that and to imitate that. So I don't know what you're trying to make out of it. I made a list of things. When I get angry enough, I write down what I want to say and what I want to talk about to set the record straight. Because you get to a point where you get tired of people lying. I get tired of situations like this, where people completely lie on me, and I'm sick of it.
You sit right there, buddy. And we are going to try our best to make a case, okay, a criminal case. We're going to try our best. But you need to understand that we're going to need your cooperation. And Gavin, can you tell us what your conversations, what you guys talked about?
Talk about, like, video games and people he knew and, like famous people. He talked about Neverland and cartoons and Simpsons and stuff. He said that he has something that can relax me, and because he says that I know you're stressed out about all the stuff that's going on, so I have something that can relax you. He went to the room and he emptied a Coke can.
Actually, that tape became very important. Most of us felt the same way, that we were looking for his demeanor. How was his body? Was he, moving around a lot? Was he nervous? Was he anxious? And he didn't seem to come across that of anyone, someone that had been molested. He just looked like someone that was just having fun, like being at a video arcade or something. He didn't seem nervous at all.
Said that boys have to masturbate, because if we don't, like, we could go crazy. He told me a story about this one boy that, like, he went and got a dog and he started having sex with the dog. He said that he wanted to show me how to masturbate.
He wanted to show you how to masturbate? Okay.
And I said no. And then he said, you do it for me.
Okay. And did he do it for you? Go ahead, Kevin, it's fine.
He put his hand in my pants.
Did he put it on the outside?
Inside.
Inside? And what did he do next?
He started masturbating me.
Okay.
Then after a while, I told him I didn't want to do that.
Did he stop?
I told him and he kept on doing it. I told him he kept on saying that he wants to teach me, and I told him no.
And what, did he finally stop?
Yeah, after like a long time.
Did you, do you know what ejaculation is? You know what that means?
I have no idea, but I don't really know.
Did any white stuff come out that you remember?
I don't know.
You want something to drink? You're doing a very good job. Let me get you something to drink, okay, buddy? Where are those drinks at?
Trial witnesses testified that they found Gavin and his brother masturbating to porno when Michael wasn't on the premises. Also, records show that earlier, Gavin said that his grandmother told him the story that if you don't masturbate, you go crazy. But with the sheriffs, he seemed to substitute Michael for the author of the story.
Michael Jackson has done wrong. Michael Jackson has done wrong to you and to your mother, and his friends that work for him, or his employees, have done wrong.
After you've been through hell.
Exactly.
So, the Michael Jackson case. Originally, there was a documentary in 2003 called Living with Michael Jackson, which showed Michael Jackson holding hands with Gavin Arvizo. And, you know, essentially, a lot of people got upset, which triggered a criminal investigation into Michael Jackson. Now, tell me how you really started working on this case and what you focused on.
Okay. So the onset of my investigation, at least, was an issue of trying to determine who these people were. One of the first people that I contacted, because the information that we were getting, the discovery that we were getting, seemed to, how would you describe it? It seemed to leave out a gentleman named David Arvizo, who was the father of these three children, Gavin, Star, and Davlin. It was very noticeably missing from the discovery. So I contacted him, had a conversation with him. He wanted to talk to Michael. I told him I didn't have that authority. And, you know, it was one of those, what do you want to talk to Michael about? I want to find out what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So my response to him was, why don't you sit with me, talk to me, tell me what you want to find out. We'll have our conversation, and I will do what I can to try and get you in touch. And essentially, I sat with David for about 3 hours near their home, which was not in East LA, by the way. Again, so many misrepresentations in this case. It's ridiculous. But he sort of set the roadmap for who his wife was. And he and his wife were not really seeing each other anymore. At that point, she had moved on. He had been accused of domestic violence. I believe he took a deal for the sake of the children. I don't believe that David was in the least bit violent. I'm sort of on my own in that arena. I'm aware of it. But he took a deal, and it's not uncommon. People take plea deals. And that's where I started, and started to branch out from who these people were. Got me in touch with again, testified Arlene Kennedy, Carol Lemire. Carol Lemire, the person who did actually introduce Gavin to Michael Jackson, wasn't Jamie Masada. Again, one of these issues that people were just trying to grab credit wherever they could. Jamie Masada, for reasons unbeknownst to anybody, decided to take the credit for introducing Michael to Gavin Arvizo. Jamie Masada owned the Laugh Factory, or whatever. Was that what it was called? The Laugh Factory? And was the one that sponsored these comedy camps. Then the Arvizos participated in the comedy camps. They were taking tap dancing, and they were taking that from a woman named Arlene Kennedy and her brother Paul. Paul passed away before this took place. And so that was the onset of my focus, trying to determine who these people were.
Okay. And what did you find out about the boy's mother?
She was a liar and a grifter. Again, it led to the El Monte lawsuit. The lawsuit filed, I think it was in El Monte, of the arrested JCPenney's, where the boys were grabbed stealing clothing from JCPenney's. She made these allegations that she had been beaten up and roughed up by the police, and she sued Penny's, and I don't think she sued the police department. But things like I subpoenaed booking photos, I subpoenaed the records. She said that her shirt was torn, and you can see in her booking photo it was buttoned all the way up, no damage whatsoever. Again, anytime somebody gives you information, the idea is to move forward and sort of determine that information to be real or not. And with her, she claimed to be on welfare. So when I started doing background investigations on her, one of the things that David Arvizo had told me is that they had collected $20,000 from Luis Polanco. Luis Polanco was another comedian who also testified at the trial, friends with Joseph Coleman, also known as Fritz Coleman, and L.A. Weatherman, who I also interviewed as well. And these people said that they gave, for example, Coleman said that he gave money or help to the Arvizo family because they needed it for medical expenses because this boy had cancer. The truth of the matter is they had Kaiser. And as I said to Fritz Coleman after our interview, I said, "Are you familiar with Kaiser?" Of course, looked at me like I was an idiot. And I said, "Do you understand how Kaiser works? The reason people join Kaiser is so they don't have a bill." That's kind of the point behind Kaiser. So all of a sudden he's upset. Like, well, wait a minute, we gave them all this money and all this help. She portrayed herself as living in East Los Angeles, and these people that had gone to visit her went to this little, one-room apartment in East LA in a very bad part of town. The truth is that David Arvizo went and rented that from their home. They lived in South El Monte. David Arvizo rented this apartment because it was close to Sunset Kaiser, where Gavin was getting his treatment. And he was working at Ralph's grocery store main warehouse. So he was working now. He took to the graveyard shift so that he could spend the day at the hospital with his son. When we got the medical records from Kaiser, Janet was there maybe twice. David was going there every single day, but Janet was out hustling money from all of these people. I subpoenaed the records from Luis Polanco when I found out about the $20,000. I got 2 checks from her, $10,000 each. And each check had been endorsed by a woman named Maria Ventura, who was Janet Arvizo's mother. And this was, I subpoenaed the records from the bank. And this is from a bank where only Janet and Maria could gain access to the money. David didn't even have access. But again, everybody wanted to publicly accuse him of stealing the $20,000.
Right. Well, the mother essentially had a $150,000 settlement from JCPenney. She claims she'd been roughed up and sexually assaulted by security
keep in
guards.
mind that that's pre-attorney's fees, and some of that money, is divvied up and went to the kids. And then she filled out an application for welfare and failed to mention that she spent $23,000 on a brand new Ford Taurus. Failed to mention a lot of things in her application, and subsequently was charged and pled out to welfare fraud.
Right. And I guess there was a paralegal named Mary Holzer who testified that the boy's mother had told her that she lied under oath and threatened to kill her and her 9-year-old daughter if Mary had basically let out this information.
Second night, she said to me, I think we should, you and I should sleep upstairs. I don't know why. I don't know why she said that or why she thought that, but I didn't want to. So whenever it was bedtime, she went upstairs and Michael and I stayed in the bed downstairs. And I believe at some point that night the abuse started. I mean, they have, as far as prior to the healing process, right? Prior to disclosing. But post-disclosing the abuse in 2012 and beginning that healing journey, they've evolved as far as I remember more details about scenarios as it goes along. It evolves, details get added to.
Do you recall being subpoenaed for the criminal testimony in 2005?
I do.
Do you recall where you were when you were subpoenaed?
I don't.
Do you recall if you were with anyone when you were subpoenaed?
I don't remember how I got the subpoena.
This is a transcript of your testimony from the 2005 criminal trial, correct?
It appears to be that way.
On line 18, you're asked, Mr. Robson, did Michael Jackson ever molest you at any time? And you said, absolutely not, correct?
Correct.
And that was a lie, right?
That was a lie, yeah.
Okay. On line 21, you're asked, Mr. Robson, did Michael Jackson ever touch you in a sexual way? And you responded, never, no, correct?
Correct.
And that was a lie, correct?
That was what I had rehearsed with Michael.
And you now claim that that was a lie, correct?
That was not the truth, yeah.
On line 24, you're asked, Mr. Robson, has Mr. Jackson ever inappropriately touched any part of your body at any time, correct?
Correct.
And your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
And you now claim that that was a lie, correct?
That was not the truth.
You turn to page 9100. On line 14, you were asked, and at no time has any sexual contact ever occurred between you and Mr. Jackson, right? Do you see that?
Yes.
And your answer was never, correct?
Yes.
And you now claim that that was a lie, correct?
That was not the truth.
Did you cry at the memorial service at the Staples Center?
I might have. I don't remember.
Were you invited to the private memorial?
I don't believe so.
Were you upset that you were not invited to the private memorial?
Yeah, I was hurt.
Why?
Because at that point, I still thought that that Michael and I were close friends for a very long time, had a long relationship, that that I would have been included in something like that.
This is an email that you wrote to Jeff Thacker on June 26, 2009, correct?
Yeah.
Is the show that you're referring to in the second to last sentence or second to last line? You said, I wanted to write you now, so if you guys are thinking of doing any dance tribute to MJ on the show, I would like it to be me who does it. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Is the show so you think you can dance?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Is Jeff Thacker associated with So You Think You Can Dance?
Yeah, he's a producer. It speaks to my compartmentalization at the time.
First day at Neverland was Michael making physical contact with me, like his hand on my thigh, hugs, it felt great. And out of all the kids in the world, he chose me to be his friend. And he's holding my hand. Within the context of what was going on, it seemed normal. The days were filled with playing tag, watching movies. He taught me how to do the moonwalk. This contrast began between the day and the night. We were going to sleep in his bed. The first thing I remember is Michael sort of, moving his hands across my legs. We're both clothed in PJs. And then his hands sort of got to, my crotch area. Beginning sort of fondling there. And started touching my penis underneath my pants. And, there was nothing aggressive about it, nothing abrasive. I never felt scared or anything like that. It just didn't seem that strange. And then him guiding me to do the same thing with him. So moving my hands to touch his penis, which, was erect. Him talking to me, you and I were brought together by God. We were meant to be together, and this is us showing each other that we love each other. So him kissing me, like full open mouth, tongue in mouth, kissing. He would put my fingers on his nipples and tell me to squeeze them. And he would moan and react to that like it felt good. And I liked the feeling that was making him happy, that was pleasing him, And then Michael pulling my pants and my underwear down, pulling them off. And going down and starting to, perform oral sex on me. And I remember him putting my hands on his head when he was down there. I'll never forget the feeling of his hair. That was rough, almost like a Brillo pad, like this roughness. And he's down there, and with his mouth on my 7-year-old penis. Quickly it turned into having me perform oral sex on him too.
My reaction to leaving Neverland was incredible. I remember having the time of my life with Michael. I was about 15 years old, and I remember him just sitting down with me, being like, this is kind of like what you got to do, Aaron, in your future, and, just stay focused and stay driven, always be a perfectionist. I also went to the same vocal coach as Michael, Seth Riggs, for many years. So I really idolized Michael the way that you see Wade Robson and that other kid, whatever the hell his name is. When I see someone that is like, okay, you're a grown man, and when Michael Jackson was alive, you are backing him, you are up his ass, you are kissing his ass, you are there to testify for him under oath, and then when he dies, you decide that that's a good time to come out. No, what you're doing is you're actually stomping on an icon and a legend's grave. You're stomping on his grave. I just feel like, why not do it when he was alive, man? Why not do it when he was being accused of all of these molestation charges? Why not do it then? Because and actually indict a perpetrator.
I guess, is it at all possible that what they're saying could have happened?
Not based upon my experience. Because me staying with Michael Jackson, I hung out with Michael Jackson. I stayed at his house. I stayed in his bedroom.
How old were you?
I was 15.
Oh, the filmmaker says that they were not paid for Leaving Neverland. They
So
had
you don't
filed,
think
they had
you
filed
don't
lawsuits.
think for the
Wade had
interviews that
filed a
they're doing,
lawsuit.
you don't think that for the interviews that they're doing, they're not getting paid? Because I've been offered 6 figures already for an interview, and I turned them all down. I told them to go fuck themselves. Like, Wade, I'm very disappointed in, because I don't understand. And then and then he's trying to tie my name into this shit, like putting like Aaron Carter. I'm not that guy. I'm not the one. Like I might be a pop singer, but I'm also from the fucking South. And you fucking come at me on some sour shit. You're lucky I got something to lose now. Like, because I would punch you in your face. I would. And then maybe I'd ask you, hey, are you telling the truth? But I'd punch you in your face first. Because what you're doing is you're stomping on someone's grave who's there for you, taught you things, did all these kind of things. And then you guys are sitting there talking about how you were molested and all this stuff. It's hard for me to understand. How am I supposed to understand that when my own personal experience with him was gentle and beautiful and loving and embracing? And that was it.
Now listen to this. I have to tell you this. Okay. So after I left the party, and the next day I smoked weed with Michael, and then I get in the limousine and I leave. I get back to the Sheraton Hotel at Universal over here. There's 4 FBI agents waiting for me in the hotel room. And my mom's there and she's like, tell them what happened. And I'm like, what do you mean tell them what happened? And I sit down with them and they all ask these super sexually exploiting, questions, backsided questions. And I knew that at my age already. And I looked at all 4 of them and I said, are y'all crazy? I said, what you think I'm going to do? Tell you that Michael did something bad so that we can sue him for money? That's what I told him. I was like, you're crazy. And I looked over at my mom and I was like, are you serious, Mom? I was like, what is going on here? Why are you letting this happen? And she goes, well, I think something happened. I think something. I'm like, really? That man did nothing but be hospitable, kind, loving, giving, everything you could think of. We rode 4-wheelers for 5 hours, me, him, and Chris Tucker in the mountains at nighttime after his birthday party. Him and I hung out and talked pretty much all night. Got a couple hours of sleep. I wake up. He's not even in the room. He pulled out a cot for me in his room because I asked him, I was like, I want to hang out with you. I want to be around. It was Michael. Yeah. I want to hang out with him. I wanted to hang out with Michael. He pulled out a little cot or something. I laid on the cot. I wake up in the morning. His bed's made. There's a cleaning lady that wakes me up. I keep asking, where's Michael? I go over. He's got this huge statue figurine that Michael Jordan sent him for his birthday because he collected that stuff. Went and smoked some weed with him. Get in the car. And then all this shit happened when I got back to LA. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? I was like, and I looked at my mom. I go, are you really trying to go at Michael and use me for a money grab? I was like, nothing. And I looked at him right now. I said, nothing happened. I said, Michael was flirting with girls right in front of me. Actually.
Yeah.
And it was hilarious because he was very charming.
And that's what Michael was going through. And he knew that everything that was happening to him was not kosher, it wasn't right. And it disturbed him greatly. And he kept saying it over and over and over again. Yes, Dr. Murray was the fall guy, but it's more to it than just that. He named names. He told me people. He told me to be careful of this one and that one. And in the beginning, I didn't, it's not that I didn't believe him.
Who were the people that he was saying?
People that surrounded themselves around him, people that worked with him, people that were with him the last days.
Any specific names?
Michael wasn't capable of doing these shows that he was supposed to do. Michael only agreed to do 10, and it's because they had him on such a tight rope.
To Rabbi Shmuley Botok, author of the Michael Jackson tapes, Michael Jackson's personal mentor and rabbi. Rabbi, thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Nancy.
Are you surprised at the verdict and also $2 billion, Rabbi?
Well, Nancy, you're a moral person, so let's go beyond just the legal implications of AEG. They may not be more legally culpable, but give me a break. AEG didn't know that Michael had drug problems? You just showed video of Michael turning up to the 2005 trial in his pajamas. The whole world knew Michael had drug problems. Michael was treated for drug problems. And I find it astonishing that AEG Live, since Michael was not close to his family in the last years of his life, didn't they have a certain responsibility to go beyond the greed and the money and actually look at how gaunt he was in the This Is It documentary? He looks terrible. He looks emaciated. And if you look at the funeral that AEG Live staged, with Michael's family's participation, to be sure, it was a concert. There was no mourning. There was no tragedy. It was turned into a global concert, and everyone was making cash even off a man's funeral while he lay dead in a coffin, having orphaned his children. So this is a stunning and shocking act of immorality by all the players, because beyond the music left to us, this guy is dead. And I find it just crushing that no one seems to be culpable. You said about Dr. Conrad Murray, at the very least, he was found culpable because, of course, what he did was negligent.
These will be my final show performances in London. This will be it. This is it. And when I say this is it, it really means this is it.
An involuntary manslaughter, a felony, Dr. Murray. How do you plead?
Your Honor, I am an innocent man. I therefore plead not guilty.
Thank you.
I truly feel that Conrad Murray is simply the fall guy. This was definitely something that was premeditated, that they had planned to do, and they planned to take my brother out, and my brother knew it, and that's why he told me repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly that this was going to happen to him. He explained it to me. He explained it's because of my catalog, which is my publishing, and they're after it, and they want it, and they want their hands on it, and they want to take it away from me. So Michael developed this love-hate relationship with his catalog. I don't want it because it's going to destroy my life. No, it's mine. I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to let them rip it apart and take it from me. This went back and forth. I began to see his personality change. Michael had notes in his house saying how he hates John Branca, he hates Randy Phillips, he doesn't want them around, he'll never fly with them. He just went on and on expressing how he felt about these people. These people were all involved. Mind you, the will, I truly believe and I know that the will is fake. Because Michael was in New York when the will was signed, and they say he signed it in LA, and he did not. And they know this. But yet they put themselves as the executors on this estate. There was another guy that was in the will, Barry Siegel, but he pleasantly removed himself from it. Why would he do that? Because he knew that it was fake and he wasn't going to get involved in the skullduggery. That's why.
I got your wig, ho. Ha ha. Ew. Like JK, but like maybe not. But thank you for watching. But you hating ass bitches always have something to say. Hating ass bitch, but you're still watching my vids. What? You're so upset. But that's like okay, because have a piece of bread, have a Xanax, relax, because I said what I said.